Good evening, and thank you for tuning in to this video. Alright, so far we've taught in class, we've talked about ordering rational numbers, and we've also talked about how to write fractions as decimals. Well, right now we're going to talk about how to write, we're going to go opposite. We're going to talk about how to write decimals as fractions. Now, in this video, we're only going to deal with terminating decimals, and then in class on Monday, we'll deal with repeating decimals. So here are the steps to writing a terminating decimal as a fraction. So the first step is to write the decimal and put it over 1. So if your decimal was 0.38, you would put 0.38 fraction bar 1. Then I'm going to multiply the top and bottom by 10 for every number after the decimal point. Make yourself a note. It's going to, when I mean every number, I mean every non-zero number. Okay? And then the third step is to simplify. So to recap again, we're going to first write the decimal over 1. Then we'll multiply the top and bottom by 10 for every non-zero number after the decimal point. Now when you're multiplying top and bottom by 10, you're actually moving the decimal one place to the right. And then the third step is that you're going to simplify. This could be a little confusing at first, so we'll work a couple of examples. So the first example is write 0.20 as a fraction. Now notice that 0.20 is the same as 0.2. So I'm going to make a note of that. Go ahead and write this down. So 0.20 is just the same as 0.2. Now, let's look at my first step. So when you're working these, I know some of you guys can do this in your head, but for now, I want to see every step so that way I can make sure that you know the process. So step 1, write the decimal over 1. So I'm going to do that. So I have 0.2 over 1. Okay? Now I'm going to multiply the top and bottom by 10 for every non-zero number after the decimal point. So after the decimal point, there's actually only one number, so I just have to multiply the top and bottom by 10. So multiply the top by 10. Whatever I do to the top, I have to do for the bottom. So I'm going to multiply the bottom by 10. Okay. 0.2 times 10, I just have to move the decimal place over once. So that would give me 2. 1 times 10 is 10, so I'm just left with 2 over 10. Now this is the correct fraction because 0.2 does indeed equal 2 over 10, but it's not completely simplified. So let's go ahead and simplify that. By looking at this, I know that 2 goes into both 2 and 10. So I can divide the top and bottom by 2. So 2/10 reduces to 1/5. So 1/5 would be my final answer. Okay, so if you notice, you could write the 1/5. I wrote the 1/5 right underneath the 2 over 10. You can either write it right underneath or you can write it out to the side, as long as I see all your steps. As long as it's laid out clearly, I'm okay with you putting the 1/5 underneath the 2/10 or out beside the 2/10. Let's go ahead and work one more example. So I got to move my paper up. Alright, I want to write 0.875 as a fraction. Okay, so let's follow my steps again. So first thing I got to do is I'm going to put the decimal over 1. So I have 0.875 over 1. Now I got to multiply by 10 for every non-zero number after the decimal point. Notice I have 3 non-zero numbers after the decimal point. So I'm going to have to multiply by 10 times 10 times 10. So multiply by 10 for every number. So 10 times 10 times 10 is just equal to 1,000. So I have to multiply both top and bottom by 1,000. All right. So if I multiply the top by 1,000, that's the same as just moving the decimal over 3 places to the right. So that's going to give me, so 1, 2, 3, that's just going to give me 875. 1 times 1,000 is just 1,000. Now I just have to reduce this. You might look at this and think, oh boy, that's a lot. Those are really big numbers. Whenever you get a number as big as this, I think it's easiest to see that 25 goes into both of these. So I'm going to divide the top and bottom by 25. Now, 25 goes into 104 times, so it's going to go into 1,000 40 times. Okay. Now you think, well, 25, how many times does that go into 875? You can always work out your division to the side if you need to. But looking at this, I'm just going to count up. I know that 25 goes into 104 times. So that means it must go into 832 times. And then, so then it goes into 875 35 times. You can just think of quarters when you do that one. You can even just count up by 25s until you get to 875. So now my fraction, so now it reduces to 35 over 40. Now notice I picked 25, and even though it reduced it quite a bit, that's not in simplest form still. 5 goes into both 35 and 40, so I have to reduce it one more time. When I reduce it one more time, 5 goes into 35 7 times, and then 5 goes into 40 8 times. So my final answer is going to be 7 8. Okay. Now I usually won't give you decimals where you have to put it over 1,000. A lot of the decimals I'm going to give you, it's going to be numbers that are going to be multiplying by 100. So go ahead and try this practice problem. I want you to write 0.56 or 0.56 as a fraction, and you need to make sure that the fraction is in simplest form. So you have this practice problem, but you also have a few more practice problems on the back that reiterates previous material. God bless you and have a good evening.